audit, so you're going well then, Natalie. What about you, Crosby?
I set my 5S audit in.
You did? Yep.
Oh, yeah, no, I just did that on the Office because we actually started on the Office. I was going to use that as my project until I switched projects, but we're still doing the Office anyway.
Yep, good.
Oh, look, I've put shelves up around the back of my office at my desk here to be able to store the modems and everything. Everything was on my desk before.
Yep.
And I've got a Weybridge computer, which was on my desk. That's now down over the side. I've fixed up all the cords. Yeah, but there's 4 different rooms here. And there's a kitchen lunchroom, which we never used to use. Everybody used to sit in here. Well, now they're in the kitchen. We've put bright lights in.
Yep.
We've redone all the lights. We put a brand new fridge in there.
I read that, yeah.
And out the back was a storeroom, which was a storeroom. It was a typical manufacturer's storeroom. Now it's tidy with labels. Everything's in its right spot. We've got a charging station out there. Everything used to sit on this desk over the back here, like all the radios and everything. Now it's all itemised and out in the back. We've even the old shower. We turned it into a cloakroom.
Yep.
So
oh, good.
We've done quite a bit. In this building inside here. Yeah, we've done quite a bit.
Well done. And I'm pleased to hear that it's not just you're only doing, the stuff that we have to do as part of this course. The whole idea is we're trying to give you some tools that you can take off and use wherever. So
yes.
It's good to hear that you're doing some other things at the same time. So well done. So just while we're on those 5S, can anyone remember what those 3 questions were that we asked ourselves when we did sort?
I can't remember exactly what they are, but do we need it?
Yep.
Basically.
Yep, that was it. Do we need this? Do we need this quantity? Do we sell it, throw it, or give it away?
Yeah.
And then when we went to set, we had 3 questions. Can anyone remember what they were?
Not off the top of the head.
Not off the top of my head either.
No. So we're really
when we set, you're talking about like giving it a home, basically.
We are. That's it. Yep. So how often do I use it?
Yes.
Does it need a well-identified home, or what's the best location for it? And what's the optimal point of use? So, yeah, good. All right, one other question then. So the 9 wastes, can you remember that acronym?
I swore out.
Yep, okay.
How did you forget that?
I don't know. Now, Natalie, do you know what the I stands for?
Inventory.
Yep, and the S?
Space.
Okay, Crosby, W?
Waste. That's off the top of the head too, mind you.
Waiting.
I'm looking for it.
Waiting.
Oh, waiting, sorry.
Yep.
Over-processing.
Yep.
I've got them here now. I'm cheating.
Oh, he's cheating. That's no worries then. Or R's for rework. What about you, Natalie? E?
Excess movement or motion.
Correct. O?
Overproducing.
Yep. U?
Unused creativity. I'll leave the last one to Natalie.
Right.
Time.
What's that last one, Natalie?
Time.
No.
Oh. Okay then. Tell you, I had time.
Moving things. Transport.
Oh, transport. I don't know why I've written time.
Oh,
I
okay.
taught myself the wrong thing.
No, all right. No, transport is the 9th waste.
Yeah.
No, all right, good. And I've got one more question then to really test us out. Can you remember the 15 lean principles? What were the 3 subsystems that we had for those?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I knew I should have looked at all this before I come in here.
Yeah, good. All right, we had the operating, remember? Culture and management. And we had 6 under operating, 5 under the culture and 4 under the management, the 15 lean principles. I'm not going to ask you what they were.
Good idea.
No. All right, well, I'm going to quiz us each week about those 9 or every fortnight about the 9 wastes and those 15 lean principles. A little bit of a recap on what we cover each week as well. So be prepared. All right. Well, great. We might get into today's lesson then. So I'll call up the first lot of slides. Actually, I'm going to go back.
We're actually very lean on people here today.
Oh, yeah?
Well, we are for the week, unfortunately. But anyway.
Yeah, rightio. What, holidays and that sort of stuff? Or
No, Branksome, being the parent company, have taken one man off me for their production. Hopefully I'll get him back in a few weeks. Another guy's taken his wife in for rehab. Yeah, we're just running lean, very lean.
All right. All right, well, we'll get things underway. Hopefully you don't get too many distractions. All right, so we're going to look at culture today. So before we get into that, maybe you might like to describe what the culture's like your place, Crosby. Good, bad, or is it indifferent?
Without bragging,
Yep.
there's 6 of us here, mostly, and they're excellent. The whole crew is excellent. It's only a small crew.
Yep.
We've got a mix of 3 younger fellas and three older fellas, including me. And it's just a really good mix, and we all have a bit of fun, and there's really no one to bring the culture down. It is good. I've been in a lot worse places.
Yep. That's great.
This is really good. I've been around for a while, and this is really good.
Yeah. What about the overall company?
I can't. Like CMTP on the mainland, from what I understand, it's a good place to work.
Yeah.
It's a very clean environment, very well organised environment over there. I've been over to Colac once and visited, and I think it's fine. There's the sawmill, and any traditional sawmill like at Branksome, always have people coming and going, because I mean a sawmill seems to be one of the lower grade jobs, if you like.
Right, yeah.
It's a starting point to get into work for a lot of people. So I mean I've been in sawmills forever. Like that's where I started, and it's been good to me. But it's not. The sawmill is not an attractive proposition for an employee.
Yeah. No, all right, that's great.
So,
excellent. What about you, Natalie? What's the culture like where you are?
Yeah, really good. The culture here, we're really aware of things that can upset culture, and we use some tools to understand each other better here, which really helps keeping things positive. But we have really great communication channels. I've come out of a workplace with probably the worst culture I've ever seen into a workplace with one of the best cultures, and the staff here that just love their jobs, and you can feel it, if you know what I mean.
Yep. It's amazing how much better you feel in an organisation with great culture.
You take away that anxiety and that negativity, and being able to openly communicate and feel comfortable, it just makes it such a better place to be.
Yep.
You actually want to come to work.
My word. No, that's great. Fantastic. All right. Well, let's get into it. And like I said, please jump in along the way. Anyone who's got some valuable information to put in, i.e. Natalie. Yeah. Okay then, so the objective at the end of this session, you'll be able to define culture and explain its importance, define engagement and explain where it fits into the lean production system, identify cultural waste, identify key reminders, i.e. behaviours versus beliefs, change, and then the RAS, or blind spot. Okay, so know your culture. I'd like you to have a read of that slide and tell me where you think you are in your culture, how it works within your organisation.
I'm going to say about halfway, by the way.
About halfway, yep.
Supervisor presents problems and solicits ideas. Team handles daily issues and gives feedback to management. Management directs and guides team. We sit around there because we've got two different plants here. We've got a treatment plant and a post-peeling plant. So right now, the post-peeling plant is running lean, as I said. It's only 2 people there at the moment, and they just do the job, mate. They just get in and they do the job. If they need anything, they'll give me a call, which I told them I've turned the radio off anyway, so they can't. But but they'll be here if they need me. They'll soon come find me.
Yeah, good. And yourself?
Yeah.
Yep. And what about you, Natalie?
We're pretty team centred. So, but depending, obviously, it's a continuum there, and depending on what's happening. So when COVID hit, the boss became pretty task orientated, helping us all deal with the changes that needed. So yeah, I understand that. Like most of the time we're team centred, but depending on what the environmental factors or new team members or someone leaving, whenever there's change, obviously that continuum will shift.
Yeah, exactly. You can't treat everyone the same. You've got to adjust to suit your culture, don't you? No, fantastic. All right. So what impact does this data have on our time today? So just the way that we actually retain information. So if you look down the bottom here, this 90% of what he, she says and does is what we retain. So that's really where we need to be, isn't it, as supervisors or leaders or whatever, like you say, we're all leaders in a way, or we have responsibility, with families and things like that. But we do need to lead by example, don't we?
Definitely.
Yeah, people watch what we do. And it's like with the lean, you guys are becoming, trained in lean and out there to actually start to implement into your organisation and lead others along the way, to show them the tools that you've learned and some of the systems that you're going to put into place, but to bring others along with you, lead by example. It's really important, that little message at the bottom there, and I think the SWE's a good example of this one. We get swept back up into the day-to-day activities and don't actively apply what we have learned. And I've seen many people go along to the SWE, they come home all G'd up and, ready to take on the world, and then just not sure where to start. Then they get back into their work and it gets forgotten about, and, it's just another day. This is this time to, what we learn is to take out into our environment and show others what can be done. Lead by example. But, if you look at that, we only, take in 10% of what he or she reads, 20% of what he or she hears. It's pretty low figures, aren't they? Now, if I just read this out today, you're not going to take much of it in. That's why, we want to have that interaction, talk about your own stories, what's happened, and how we can improve together. All right, just some numbers to remember. We've said a few of these along the way already. So the number of times you tell people something before they retain it, 7 times. How we retain info by visual, vocal and verbal. So 58% is that visual. 35% the vocal, i.e. the tone and pitch of the voice, how it's said, and then 7% is the verbal itself. Those number of times that, to make something a habit, that's 17 to 21 times. Now that frustration that takes over when, how many times I need to tell you something, blah, blah, I'll do it myself, remember these things. Remember that you've got to repeat yourself. It takes time to absorb things. Now, think about yourself, things when you've tried to break a habit, how long it's taken you to break a habit. Not sure, what habits you might have had, where you're a smoker or something like that. How long did it actually take for you to actually give that up? Doesn't happen in 5 minutes. And think about that when you're trying to get others, for habits to start. Always think about that, think of a happy place, bite your tongue and repeat yourself. Don't get aggro. It might not always go to plan. People do forget. So, culture, institutionalising a language. The accepted or perceived way we do things here. The key message and point, it's all about the tolerated and reinforced behaviours, local customs, traditions, rituals, complemented company culture. And there's 4 stages to cultural development. We have compliance, which is mandatory. We have commitment, which is voluntary. We have embed, which is natural and consistent. And then we have encode, the norm, done unconsciously. What are some of the accepted and tolerated and reinforced behaviours in your workplace? You got any, Crosby?
How do you mean, sorry?
What are some of the tolerated and reinforced behaviours in your company?
As in, like in start times, for example?
It can be all those type of things, safety, like you think about safety, I think that's one of those things over many years, it's constantly being reinforced what we need to do and how we need to go about things. If you go back 10, 15 years when safety, wasn't that high on priority, earmuffs, safety glasses, safety boots, it took a while, for people to actually accept it, and actually do it without thinking about it, that encoded, the norm, done unconsciously. No, I don't know about you guys, but, we don't think twice now about putting our safety glasses on, our helmet on when we go out into the work environment. It's just a natural thing.
Yeah, it's pretty easy here. The 6 of us are involved with a safety meeting as well. So we're all on board. So we shut down the plant and have half hour, 3/4 of an hour safety meeting. So we're all on board. So if we supply safety glasses, everybody wears them. It's just natural now.
Yep. What about you, Natalie?
There's things like, I know it's fine if I need to duck down to town and pick up a script for something, as long as I don't do it 20 times a week and, that I'm working within the limits. A really interesting example I use when I'm delivering this unit is a football field and the guy's spitting.
Yep.
So very early on in the COVID piece, there was that guy from America that had COVID or was tested positive anyway. People were going, well, he can't play because, there's saliva and they spit. And interestingly enough, it was found that was an accepted practice because all of the AFL footballers do that, and you wouldn't be in trouble because something that's been accepted as a culture and a norm.
Yep.
So it's been embedded. It's now encoded into the AFL that, not saying it's cool or anything, but that's the example I use when I'm trying to explain to someone when things become embedded and normal, then they become part of the culture, and that's where the compliance thing sometimes gets blurred.
Yep.
If it's been an accepted practice, even if you can map it back to something that perhaps shouldn't have been or isn't seen as okay by someone else. If it's been acted upon consistently and no one's ever said anything, it's been accepted as the norm. So that's how I kind of explain it.
No, that's fantastic. That's great. I'm going to use that word going forward. No, thank you. That's great. All right. So, and if we think about those 4 stages to cultural development, now I like to think about lean itself, lean being rolled out into your organisations. Where do we sit at the moment? I think both your groups are fairly early on your lean journey. We're probably almost down in that compliance mode at the moment where I'm giving you assignments to do each week and you've got to hand them in to me as part of this course. I hope by the end of this course that it's encoded, it's the norm, it's done unconsciously. You're just out there doing lean. You've opened your eyes, you've started to see those ways, and it just happens.
I think that like there's only 6 here, like I say, and we're all doing it.
Yep.
So it's easier that way if we've all got an understanding of it and we're all looking at it. So it's with us, it's commitment as well. Like it's voluntary. People are doing it.
Good.
Even though I guess, like you say, we've been forced to because we're doing projects. But yeah. But I'll see them up. I'll see my guys up in the container, which we use as a workshop, and they're up in there. They're tidying it up. They're straightening it out. If I go up there and leave a mess, they go and put it back into place.
No, fantastic. That's great. Starting to happen.
Yes.
And on this little note down the bottom, a defining moment in a culture is when an unsupervised act must be completed. You're not there overseeing. It's a bit like what you just talked about up in that container. You're not up there banging on the door going, get it cleaned up, get it cleaned up. It's just happening. They're doing it themselves. Those unsupervised act. We're turning the corner. You don't need to be out there with a whip every 5 minutes, making sure people are doing things. Okay. All right. So the institutionalising a language, the extent of employees' commitment, work effort and desire to stay in an organisation. So what do people want to stay in your organisation, Natalie?
Because we are listened to.
Yeah.
We feel cared about, we feel respected, we feel that we know what the goalposts are, and we know when they change and why they change. People want to stay here because we communicate really well, we're open and honest, and that means the hard conversations as well. But we try and reduce the judging, and we are treated in a way that we don't need to be needy, so to speak. So that judgy and neediness, and it reduces anxiety. There's a really harmonious workplace. We know we can ask anyone for help. We're still human beings, and there are days where people are stressed and whatnot, but we know that it'll pass because our boss wouldn't put up with it staying like that. And if we have an issue, nothing will change unless we do something or say something to make it change. So that's why we all like it here.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. And you, Crosby?
No, I can't beat that, Natalie. Oh, look, people are happy here, basically. And I mean, a lot of it is because they're quite happy to work here too because it's close to Scottsdale. We're only 2 kilometres away. But it's a good work environment. It's a good job, even though it's high production. We're busy. All of us are busy. And I mean, they can come to me. I can go to them. It's a two-way thing. It's good. It's good teamwork. I mean, if something needs to be done, we all just get in and do it. Who's ever available. We have packs that we need to pull down for customers. We just make it happen. Whoever's got a little bit of free time, we just make it happen. There's no one's leaving, that's for sure.
No, that's good. All right, so the key message points, are winning employees' head, heart and hands. Engagement is a contact sport. It's an 18-inch journey. And what do they mean by that? It's 18 inches from the head to the heart to the hands, the journey. The 2 major sets of factors are the rational, which you've got to cover off first, and then the emotional. And those emotional factors, we focus on the triple I, the identity, the importance and the impact. Now, I'd like you to think about who, as a supervisor that you know, or as a leader, that does this really well. They win your head, heart and hand. They come down and talk to you. They know your identity. They know the importance that you have in the business or in the public domain and the impact that you have. So can anyone think of anyone? Do they know anyone?
Well, my manager's very much like that, and we have that what's in it for me kind of thing. Like my manager understands that each person has a different WIFM, what's in it for me, and we play that to strengths. But we also use the communication tools to understand each other's preferred communication. And we use the DISC model. I don't know if you've heard of that, but we each know each other's behavioural traits. I know my boss likes things in order. She's a no-nonsense kind of person, or the opposite to what I am. But if I weigh up my delivery of messages to how she likes it, I've got a much better point to get across, etc. So yeah, we live and play by that, understanding each other's personality trait, how to get the best out of them, how to deliver the message in a way that will be received well, and the what's in it for me for each person is different. So my what's in it for me and why I'm doing this course is because I'm a theoretical person and I wanted to learn something new. So my boss knew that offering me to do something like this would keep me engaged. That was one of the what's in it for me. That would give me it's something important to share with the team, to embed into the place. It would give me, something personally challenge. It meets all of those things. So yeah, my manager at the moment is certainly one of the people that is in that space, I think.
That's fantastic. That's great. I really want a job there, actually. Crosby,
Yep.
what about you?
We were just looking for a WHS person, but we may have just found someone.
Good.
No, I've got a good manager, and yeah, I've never looked at this before. Where I can be very emotional when I talk, and I've noticed since I've been doing a bit of this that you need to be rational first, and he is rational, and I realise that now, and yeah, it's not too. Emotions don't really come into it, even though he has empathy. So, yeah, no, he's a good manager as well.
Mm.
If I need him down here, he'll come down. So,
yep. As what Natalie talked about there, that what's in it for me type thing, that's really important. They're understanding the individual and what's really important to them. That triple I, identity, importance, and the impact. Yeah, really good. It's good to hear that your direct managers fall into that category. I think Natalie talked about there earlier where a place she previously worked that had the worst culture you could ever imagine. And then to go to an establishment like she works now, it must be just a breath of air. It's fantastic. And I worked many years in lots of different places. And the last place I worked, the CEO there, he fell into that category exactly. No, it was just, I went to that place for 3 months to help them implement lean, and I left there some 4 years later. And it was all because of that CEO, the way he went about his work, and he abided by everything that was in that.
75% of the people that leave a business that usually leave because of their immediate supervisor.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, exactly. No, good. All right. So why do businesses care about engagement? Here's some Towers parents. They've gone off and done some surveys. Quality, customer service, cost and retention. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. The difference between an engaged and a disengaged workforce, it's just crazy. Why you want to have a disengaged workforce, why you don't spend that effort trying to change your culture and get people engaged and get them on board. Thinking about those 9 ways, think about those unused creativity and everything that, Natalie talked about there before, the reasons why her, immediate supervisor stands out so much, are those things, that unused creativity, being involved, listened to, making of an important part of this company. People care about what I have to say. They are the type of things that change our culture. Listen to what our people have to say. And some more, some Fortune 150 manufacturers, the same thing, looking at impact of engagement and absenteeism, turnover and quality. This culture affects everything that we do. Poor culture. People don't turn up to work, do they? No one's going to miss me. I'm not going to bother going. It's a nice day. I'm going to go to the beach instead. Who cares? We talked about that turnover, the same thing, what, you mentioned there before, Crosby, high turnover because, the culture's so poor. I want to find a place where I'm actually respected. And then quality. Poor culture goes back into the products that you make. Look at that massive difference there, you know, 52 parts per million in an engaged workforce compared to 5,658 in a low engagement. Massive difference. If you think about, you know, your guys up in that container, Crosby, you know, the results of engagement is employees passionately doing the right thing at the right time, the right way, for the right reason. An example, you know, we follow safety procedures only because your boss is nearby. You're doing the right thing? Yes. Doing it at the right time? Well, yes. He's got his safety gear on, yep. Doing it the right way? Yes, he's got it on. Doing it for the right reason? No. Not doing the right reason, because he's only doing it because the boss is around. Attending mandatory meetings but don't pay attention or participate. Doing the right thing? Well, yeah, you're at the meeting. The right time? No, it's not the right time not to participate or pay attention. Doing the right way? Nope. The right reason? No. But a good example is actively look for and help eliminate waste in my personal day job. Doing the right thing? Yes, you are. Doing the right time? Yes. The right way? Yes. And the right reason? Yes. The results of an engagement, think about it. And it's what you talked about there before, Crosby, up at that container. You're not up there. The guys are doing things in the right thing at the right time and the right way and the right reason. Trying to improve on what we do and improving that culture. Simplifying our work, taking away our frustrations.
Funnily enough, they'd been up in that container and they'd actually cleaned up. And I had to go up there during the dinner hour and change the blades. Do you think I could find the bits that I needed to change the blades? So now we have a shelf with all the tools that are required to change the blades.
There you go. Excellent. So look at the 5S has continued on. And this is part of that continue to improve. We don't get it always perfectly right the first time.
No.
And that's why we're never finished, because there's always room for improvement. Okay, so beliefs are stubborn and behaviours are more flexible. It's easy to get people to try new behaviours than alter their belief. If you try a new behaviour and you reinforce it, most people will respect the behaviour. With multiple repetition, many beliefs will gradually shift to the reinforced behaviours. Everyone would agree that, you know, beliefs and attitudes are very hard to change. You know, things like sporting teams, religion, politics, and those type of things. But where do those beliefs first start out, do you think?
Home.
Home, yep. Yep, exactly.
What you grow up with seeing and hearing.
Exactly, that's it, you know, so there's a lot of years have gone into your belief, you know, your parents, the people that you interact with and things like that. So it is extremely hard to change. You go to an organisation and every organisation has a set of actions and behaviours that you generally have to follow regardless of your belief. And as we said up there, it's easy to get people to try new behaviours than alter their beliefs. Let them try it, let them see that it actually does work, and, you know, can continue to congratulate them, well done, great job, and they'll continue to do those things. Then we have things like perceptions, you know. There's perceptions about us, perceptions that we make about others. Now, I think back to a course I was doing many years ago. It was all about leadership styles and so forth. And we all had to stand up at the front of the class, and it was a group of people that I worked with, you know, peers, you know, all basically on the same level. And we had to go up the front of the class, and it was graded from 0 through to 10. 0 being that you were a quite weak or soft leader, up to 10 where you were a dictator type thing. So we had to say, well, where do you think you stood? And it was my turn, you know. I stood up and I'm thinking, yeah, I think I'll stand about 7. I think I'm about a 7 on that list. And then it got put out to the group there. So where do you believe David is as a leader? And 99% of them said 10. I've gone,
Dictator.
Sorry? Yeah, dictator.
You're a dictator.
Yep, no, exactly. Like, and I did a lot of reflection about that, like, it was good to hear what others thought and maybe really started to think about the way I went about things. And what I really sort of discovered was I was that person that, we talked about there before, that you need to tell someone 7 times, they need to do it 17 to 21. I was that person that, how many times I have to tell you, I'll do it myself, blah, 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 impatient, trying to get things done, and it was really an eye-opener to me, to be able to hear what others thought about me and what I really needed to work on, to improve on, to become a better person myself. Is there anything that you guys, are aware of, perception of others about you and things that you might need to work on or improve on going forward?
I can give you an example, David. I was going to say, from that, similar to yours, that testing that I said that we do.
Yes.
It actually tells you what other people perceive you as. Well, it's pretty spot on. But yeah, mine was because I'm really passionate and confident about training and delivering information. People can see me as a bit on myself and think I know it all.
Right.
And if I'm not careful, that passion and knowledge comes across as arrogance. But now I know that, I often say to people, I'm not the be all and end all. I only know what I know. A good facilitator will bring out the knowledge out of each of you and the year's experience in the room. Let's share it. Please challenge me, please, whatever. If I get a bit excited or I seem overly confident, it's my passion and my enthusiasm, not my thoughts of knowing more than you guys. So I actually put it out there now, because I would be highly offended if someone thought that I was better than them or knew more than them. But it was really interesting that some of the things that I do aired those concerns to people, but being aware of it's been fantastic.
Yep.
But I was horrified when I first read it, because that is not where I'm coming from, but I completely understand where it could be mistaken.
Yeah, and it takes those sort of things to actually open your eyes to it, doesn't it? It's amazing. You can be oblivious to what's going on around you until you get some of that feedback. And it's a bit like what you said there, that you can't take it to heart when people say it. It's your opportunity to learn and to improve on. Another great example, Natalie. What about you, Crosby?
I've done it quite a bit over many years. We've done the 360-degree feedback.
Yep.
Through, I don't know whether you've ever heard of it, Fabian Datner.
No, I can't say I have. Yep.
It was pretty high-level management training where 9 of us managers here at the French Pine site, we all went through this. The first thing we had to do was identify. Well, first thing we did was we did this questionnaire where we thought we sat.
Yep.
And then we got all our peers and family and bosses, and there's about 20 people actually done the same thing, and it all come back, and we compared what everyone else thought of me, for example, compared to where I thought I sat. And so that was pretty interesting. And you can't, if you don't know where you're at, you can't change, you can't improve.
Yep.
First thing you need to do is know where you're at. So that was really good training. That was high level. It was excellent. I mean, we did the Myers-Briggs and other bits and pieces as well.
Yep. No, great. Some good examples there, but you said, don't take offence to it, learn. Perceptions of others are very important. So some of the obstacles that we face in change management. Now you can see here from this graph that over 50% of the risk is directly attributed to behaviour. Now, management behaviour, not supporting of the change, they're just jumping on board, this will be over like every other thing that we've tried, give it 6 months, they'll be gone, we can go back to the way we are. A lot of managements are like that, and then employees fearful and resistant to change. that what's in it for me type things, not understanding, not actually, communicating what is really going to happen, answering those difficult questions. So 50% directly attributed to behaviour. It's a massive amount, isn't it?
People don't like change.
People don't like change. People get into their comfort zone.
Yep.
And don't like to get out of that comfort zone.
Especially in a work environment.
Yep, exactly. But as we have said, that it's good to be challenged, because being challenged makes you grow as an individual yourself. It makes you start to look at things in a different way. Then we have RAS, or the reticular activating system, or the blind spot. So what the blind spot is the mind's ability to actually shut things out. An example might be, you go off and look at a new house. It's the house of your dreams. It's absolutely fantastic. You can't believe how good this house is. The real estate guide rang you and said, look, you need to get here pretty quick. I reckon this one's going to be snapped up. So, yep, we've headed down on Sunday, got there midday, had a look, and just can't believe, yep, fantastic. We line up for it. So we buy the house, and 3 months later, we move in. Mate drops round to see me, like, how's the new house going? Oh, I can't believe the noise, the traffic that's going past the house. I can't sleep, I can't do this, it's just atrocious. Yeah. Go back a month later, ask the same questions. So how you find it? Oh, it's really good. Yeah, no. Your mind has put that noise out. You can't hear it. You can't see it anymore. And this is what we talk about, the blind spot. The blind spot goes around us in our life, our day-to-day organisation, and what goes on with culture, what goes on within our business. The mind has this ability to shut things out. We just don't see it. We can't see what's happening. And what we want you to do is to open up your mind, be aware of that blind spot, and start to look, start to learn, start to question what's actually happening, and don't lock those things away. It's a bit like, an office right next to a lift as well. Every time that lift got to the floor, ding, ding, ding. People that work next to that after a period of time, you don't hear that ding anymore. That blind spot has taken over. All right, so a couple of little takeaways that we've got from that. So culture is what we accept, reinforce, and anyone tell me what that is? So what we accept, reinforce, and
Do?
Tolerate.
Tolerate.
When is a defining moment in culture?
Oh, when people don't need when things just happen on their own without supervision, and they're done in the right way at the right time, and all of that.
Unsupervised act. Well done. Engagement is employees.
We should have wrote all this down.
Oh, engagement is an employees.
Well, should have printed it.
Go back to slide 7.
Is it compliance, commitment? No, it's not that. Yeah. It's institutionalizing. It's when that's natural and consistent. It's the normal. No.
It's commitment to work, work effort, and desire to stay. In engagement, we want to win employees. What's that one? Anyone remember?
Hearts. Heads. I don't know. It was something about the 18-inch thing.
Yep. Head, heart.
Head, heart, hands.
Hand.
And it's 18 inches between each one.
Head, heart, and hands.
Exactly.
Sorry, I remember the 18 inches.
Or 450 millimetres in
Natalie.
Sorry.
Yep. All right. Engagement is what kind of sport? It's contact, isn't it? It's down there. We're not just sitting back in the office. We're out there amongst it.
Yeah, I don't have those. Like I don't have the slide up.
No, neither do I.
When you're going through.
No, you can see the one I've got up there, though, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. This is.
But then you got to try and remember it.
Yeah, no, well, this is good quizzing for the assignment that you're about to do. So,
yep.
Anyway, so there are two major sets of factors for engagement. Know them. Remember what the two
rational, then emotional. I wrote that bit down.
That's it, exactly. And which one do we go tackle first?
The rational.
Correct. Well, the emotional side of engagement is addressing the triple I. What is that?
Identity, importance, impact.
Correct. Those really good leaders.
Just got to know what to write down and what not to.
That's it. You got it. When we have true engagement, people do four things right. What are they?
True.
Is that the beliefs, attitudes? Oh no.
No, that's when they were doing the right thing, the right time, the right way, and the right reason. All right, when something is not in your RAS, it's in your
blind spot.
Blind spot, that's it. A key message must be repeated at least
7 times.
7. A behaviour has to be repeated at least
17
to 21.
21, yeah.
That's it. Human communication effective is made up of 3 elements, 58, 35 and 7. What are they?
Visual, vocal and verbal.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And over 50% of the obstacles to change are
behaviour.
Behaviour. Well, that's it. What I'd like you to do is to call up C3.1.
I accidentally did this assessment a couple of weeks ago. I wouldn't mind knowing if I got most of it right without doing the session.
I think you were pretty close.
Was I? I just took it off what I knew from my delivery of the session, but I can have another go if you want me to.
I wouldn't mind just having a look at it, just make sure.
Do you want us to do that one?
Yes, I do, please. So same, put your date, student name and signature. Find the questions, pretty much just what we went through there a minute ago too. So I'll give you, what is it? It's 1:23. Let's say at 1:35, I'd like you to have done that. Go and grab a coffee or whatever you want, and then we'll get back into it again. You happy with that?
Yep.
1:35. Okay.
No worries. Thanks. See you soon.
Thank you.
Before you speak, just turn this off.
Oh, well, we're all back then, aren't we? How'd we go? Got that assignment done?
Good, David. The only one I couldn't find when I took my notes, the 4 things people do right when there's true engagement. They do the right thing at the right time, in the right place, with the right tools. Is that right? I couldn't remember the.
Yep.
Actual.
So that I'll just show you which slide.
Yeah, thank you.
That. Open.
Just the 4 things.
I'll just get it there in a second.
Right thing.
You see
Right
that
thing,
in that
right
one?
time.
That slide?
Ah, yeah, the right thing at the right time, the right way for the right reason. Right
Yep.
thing at the right time, the right thing. Yep, I've done mine. Do you want me to go and check it on the scanner?
I haven't finished mine, but I'll do it because I'll do it on.
Yeah,
I'll do it on the computer later.
Yep, that's fine. Send them through after the class. That's
After.
fine. Not a problem. We might just keep going. Unless there's any questions, we'll get into the second part of it. I assume you can all see that then. 3.02, facilitate change in communication. All right, so we'll get into this. Once again, if there's any queries or questions, and I would like your input as we go through. So the objectives at the end of this module, you'll be able to introduce organisational change management, list the key elements of organisational change management, explain the science and art of change, state the importance of documenting the compelling need for change, document and validate the compelling need for the change, understand and overcome communication barriers, understand active listening, body language, vocal tones and techniques, and send clear and concise messages through clarification and reflection. So, reaction to change varies. And it's like you were saying there, Crosby, before, people don't like change. But there's a thing, the 10-80-10, they say that 10% of your people will change, some quick to accept without question, very quick to jump over to these new ideas and try new things out. But at the same time, you've got to be a little bit careful of those people because they can also lose interest very quickly, jump back or jump onto something else. And then we have some that are continually resistant to change. You hear those people all the time. Oh, we tried this 10 years ago, it didn't work, we did this. Your typical idea assassin. And then about 80% of our people, some are cautiously optimistic. Will the change be sustained? Is there management support? All those what's in it for me type things, answering those questions. So when we sort of, work out what we're going to communicate and how we're going to actually deliver that, we try to cover all the bases. Our ultimate goal is to bring everyone along on the journey. But unfortunately, not everyone probably will come. There may be some that just won't be accepting, and are the things that you have to face or you've got to tackle at the end of the day. But you don't start out in that way. You start at the start, you try to bring everyone along and get everyone to see the new way of doing things, the better way to do things. What is organisational change management? Organised change management is the process of managing change with a focus on people, structure, process and culture. The goal of organisational change management is to manage the change by demonstrating the value of the change and addressing any resistance. Organisational change management does not eliminate resistance to change, it simply manages it. But don't confuse yourself. There will be resistance. There is no question about that. But it's about understanding that and how do we tackle it. What do we need to go out and explain to everyone? So, experience with change. What I'd like you to do is to gain an understanding of experience within organisational change, both good and bad. I'd like you to think about changes you've experienced at your organisation, list the characteristics of change that were well accepted and changes that were resisted. Prepare to share some of these experiences with the group. All right, so I'll give you 5 minutes just to jot down some of those good experiences and bad experiences when you were involved in a change within your organisation, or where you previously worked, or could be anything in life in general. I remember when I was at Incat, you know, we went through a pretty major change there when we went into receivership. I can remember the receivers came in and told us all that we all had to go off and grade or rate employees in our teams. We had to rate them from 1 to 10, as they were going to start to reduce the numbers of employees. Now, we were sitting at around, I think, about 850 employees at that point in time, and they wanted to get it down to 250. So all the team leaders went off and graded their people. They got sent back to the receivers. There was no consultation with anyone from Incat regarding the lists and how they had been graded, and then they set about actually laying people off. What we found out as we sort of started to see people heading up the road was it hadn't been explained very well to the team leaders about what we really wanted as an outcome out of this, and that was to try and maintain the best possible crew as we could. So when we got out of receivership, we had a very good foundation to build off going forward. But unfortunately, a lot of the team leaders rated their people based on their mates and those type of things. So their mates got a very high rating, and then the ones they didn't like so much got a lower rating. So regardless of what their skill level was, it was more based around who was a nice guy and who wasn't type thing. So where we lost a lot of employees, we didn't really end up with probably the best crew that we could have at the end of the day. We still had some great employees, there's no question about that, but the level sort of dived quite quickly when you started to look into those team groups. And that was the real bad experience. The bad experience was not explaining what the ultimate outcome was and what we wanted to try and get out of this bad experience altogether. Anyway, I'm pleased to say that we did work our way out of the receivership and rebuilt the crews, and Incat continues to prosper to this day. So who's got a story they'd like to tell me?
I'll give it a go if you like, David.
That's great.
I've related this activity with introducing CRM. So this has happened at 2 organisations that I've worked at, and I've been the lucky person who's come on as new. So it hasn't really been a big change for me in both instances. It's been, okay, I've never worked this before. It's just how it is. So I've been able to handle it a little bit better. But what I noticed in both workplaces where I was part of this, is that the staff initially were a little bit resistant to what the problems would be in moving to a new CRM or whatever, a new system. They sort of accepted that it provided more functionality. It would be, once we were trained and using it efficiently, maybe a better way to work with better extraction of information and reporting capability. But because of the fact that they'd reported in different ways and used a different program, there was that resistance to, I suppose, whether it was going to actually deliver what it said it was going to, and how long was it going to take to get that, and was it really worth it, all that time to iron it out to get to where we were, kind of thing. But being new, I've been able to accept it, and it's been the norm, and then being able to sort of lead the way in positivity and whatnot, having stepped in as the new person and just go with the flow.
Yep. No, great example. I had a similar one place I work too. We got a new ERP system in next week, and same sort of thing. There was 6 people that were selected at the very start to be our SMEs, our subject matter experts, and went through all the training and so forth. And then the time we actually went to do the rollout, there was only one of those left with the company. Other 5 had left because they found the thing too hard and wanted to be involved in the change going forward. So it was a real problem. Not good. Anyway, Crosby, what about you?
Yeah, look, we've this was only a very small treatment plant at the beginning, so we didn't have a computer, we didn't have anything here. So I've come on board, and we basically got the post-peeler plant up and running as well. So there's been a lot of change, and like, some people do accept change well, but others that have been here slightly longer than me as well, it's difficult for them to change, and especially when you're introducing safe work instructions for chemical handling, for example. For chemical handling, we've had to put in the safe work instructions that you have to wear gloves, you have to wear a full face shield, you have to wear an apron if you're handling any chemicals, and that's hard to accept for someone that's been doing it for 20 years. So yeah, there is some resistance to change, but it's a process basically that you go through to make sure that it does happen. There's some things I haven't been able to change with when we pull the carriages out of the treatment cylinder, for example. We always hook a chain onto the front of the forklift, onto the frame. We've actually got a tow thing on the back of the forklift, which is designed to tow it out. But yeah, they're still resistant to change there because it's a visual thing too. Like, when they're reversing back, they can see what they're doing.
Yep.
So I can understand that aspect of it. So yeah, with the safe work instructions and risk assessments that we've done throughout the site, and putting all the safety measures in place, and it's been a reasonably easy process because everyone that's here has grown with this business. So we've implemented with people's inputs along the way as well. So that's a good side of it. Is the business has grown around us, with us.
You know, one thing to think about, I agree, there is, people don't like change and so forth, but when people are struggling to understand what the need for change is, why we have to change, we really have to think ourselves and think about how we're actually delivering that message. Now, we might need to change it up. Are we actually answering all those what's in it for me type things? Are we answering all their concerns? Do they really understand why we want to change or why we need to change? So don't always just blame an individual that, they're not willing to change, blah, blah, blah. Let's do some self-assessment. Now look in the mirror and think about, how can I actually do it better? How can I get that word across to try and minimise that resistance? All right, so we talked about on session one, those two sides of the lean coin. We had the lean culture and we had the lean tools. The lean culture, the soft skills, the art. We have the role management, culture change, structural change, communication strategies, and reward strategies. The area that a lot of people, or some people, actually struggle with, because it's out there, you're actually out there talking to people, interacting with people. Unlike the science, the lean tools, the DMAIC, the define, measure, analyse, improve and control methods, statisticals, facts and data and lean tools, we're in the office. We can stay in the office, bury our head in that paperwork and not actually have to talk to people. And this is where some people actually struggle. The art of it, those soft skills, out there interacting with your employees. So as we go forward from here, I would really like you to start to think about your project, the project that you've selected as part of this course, and how you may be able to use some, if not all, of this model to actually for the benefit of your project itself. So change can cause a mixture of thoughts and emotions: excitement, yearning for the past, unfocused energy, productivity dip. Remember, the dip is going to happen. However, the objective is to lessen the dip and reduce the pain. And quite often that productivity dip is people standing around talking about what's going to happen, what they think is going to happen, not really understanding the full picture, because that communication is broken down. We haven't explained exactly why we're doing it and what the benefits are. So, burning platform. A significant culture change begins with the creation of a burning platform, a compelling vision of why change is needed. An enterprise cannot move forward unless the need for change is clearly established. So do you have a burning platform in your organisation? What about you, Crosby? What's your reason you need to change?
I don't know. We learned about the burning platform last week, actually, jumping from one building to another building while it was on fire.
Yep. So, you think about what's not working well at the moment, what needs to work. Does your company have, goals and targets you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, from a production sense, yes.
Yep. Everyone aware what those goals and targets are?
Yes, pretty much, yes.
Yeah. Clearly displayed, you know where you're at.
I show the people that are actually doing the production. I show them it's on the computer. I don't actually print it out, but it obviously goes to management and the owners, and I show the production guys where they're at the moment. If there's a real high in the production, if they overproduce, if you like, it's rewarded. If we just had pizza on Friday, actually. Yeah, pizza for morning smoker. How about that?
Yeah, very nice.
And and if there's a few dips, which is rare nowadays, we because we measure efficiency as well, not only what we produce each day, but we measure how efficient we are throughout the day as well. I don't print them out, but I probably could. Be better if I had a colour printer though to do that.
And that's in a way is a burning platform, where we are today, where we want to get to, what our goals are. The same thing, we've talked about, think about your project, your burning platform for your project. What are the problems we've got today? What do we want to try and be tomorrow? How are we going to improve? How about you, Natalie?
Yes, in terms of stuff, we have obviously a strategy, and out of that strategy comes an operational plan. So, we have a pretty clear set of goalposts and some operational tasks for each division of the business to meet that. So, that's how we sort of roll here.
Good.
And we're all part of that. So in terms of we're part of forming what that strategy should look like, and then we were part of the design of the operational plans as well. So it's kind of like a whole team buy-in. If we think it's going to work, you know, it's our job to say to the manager, this is what we're going to do to meet that vision or strategy. This is why we think it'll work. This is, you know, so yeah, it's a pretty open process that we're involved in, and so that's how I think it works really well. No one's sort of forced into, you must do this to meet that. It's our job to devise something that'll work for us that also meets the overarching strategy.
That's great. So you've all been involved in creating what those goals are.
Absolutely.
All have that input, you know, involvement creates commitment type thing. So, you know, you've been part of that setup, so you know what the goals are and you know what you need to do to go out and achieve them. So, you know, that's a really important thing about everyone understands, because we fall into that problem quite regularly that we assume everyone understands or everyone knows what we're trying to set out to achieve. Don't be frightened to display those things. Let everyone start to worry, or let everyone start to work on how we get to where we want to get to. All right, so that burning platform. Now I'd like you to look at this. This is your project. So your as is your project where it is today. That transition state, you know, to get from the as is to the to be state, we're going to give you tools, or the lean tools and so forth, to help you to get there. I don't know whether a cruise ship is probably the best thing to have as a to-be state. It was a COVID-19 petri dish, whatever it is. So we might have to think of a better slide for that, but that's where we want to get to. So think about your project all the way through it. As is, I'm on fire, it's not quite working. The transition state is those tools that we're going to get under the lean, and where we want to get to is that to-be. So the transition state. The transition state is defined by the implementation plan developed and approved. This is the process in which people and organisation move from the as is to the to be. So consider this. Today I work at Chamber of Commerce, and tomorrow I'm going to do brain surgery. Now you might say, Natalie, that's actually a drop back, you know, doing that, but no, it's about really understanding what's needed to be done to get there, what skill set, training, procedures are required to facilitate the change. Think about your project. On your project, what skill sets, what training, what procedures are required to facilitate that change. Think about that with what you're up to, what you need to do and how you need to actually communicate that to others, so others actually understand why we're actually doing these things. So if you remember back to your projects, the change management roles, we have the sponsor, the person with the ultimate responsibility, allocates resources and calls for change. And I think in our project thing that we say the sponsor is responsible to write the charter in the first place. I'll be interested to know how that's gone, whether you've written your charter yourself, because that's normally what does happen, or has your sponsor actually written that for you? Anyone? Crosby?
Yeah, I've started to, I've just put a few headings up at the moment. I haven't gone very far into it at all.
Yep.
I've had a meeting with my manager.
What was that, Natalie? Sorry?
I've had a meeting with my manager about it, just to get
the
approval and the buy-in.
Yep, good.
Yep.
Good, excellent. No, it'll be interesting to see at the end of the day whether they write it or you write it yourself. Be really interesting.
Right.
Yep. I thought that'd be the case, and that's normally what does happen. But as we say, make sure you're with your sponsor, you get your sponsor to sign off, they're in agreement with what you're going to do, and you're not just heading off down on your own path. Then we have our stakeholders, maybe responsible for the area being impacted, needs clear understanding of the change, willing to support the change, and maybe a sponsor. Then we have the change agent, which is you in this sort of, when we look at your projects. Now the sponsor, stakeholder, project manager or team member, we create and monitor the change plan. We need to fully understand and be able to clearly communicate the change. And then the target, the group or groups impacted by the change, the sponsor, the process owner, the stakeholders, the change agent and customers could and would likely be targets of the change. So what is required for change? It's a compelling need, lighting a burning platform at both the organisation and a personal level. A need for change. Why change something that's not broken? No question. So we need to explain to people what that compelling need is. What is our burning platform? So when we're determining a compelling need, there's 4 questions or 4 parts to the questions that we ask. And the first one is the process. What is not working well today? And are interrelated processes identified? We look at the structure. What are the current tools and technology? What is the organisational structure? Who are the potential targets and resources unused and underutilised? Then we have the culture. Do behaviours and beliefs support the as-is process? What do people believe is important? And what are the written or unwritten rules? And to people, who knows there is a need to change? Staff, management and customers? And what competency, skills, experience and knowledge exist? All right, so this next slide, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to do an as-is and a to-be state based around your project. So I'd like you to ask these questions to your project. So under process, the way the work flows. What is not working well today? That's the as-is and what it's going to be like in the to-be. Are interrelated processes identified? Same question. As is, to be, and then work your way down through structure, people and culture. Now, if you've got a bit of paper or you've got this printed out, write it on there. I'd like you just to populate that. I'll give you, say, let's say 10 minutes to get that done, and then I'll get you to read those out to me.
It's not very difficult.
No, it's not very difficult, is it?
Yes. I better go and find it.
You might not be able to answer every one of those questions. It might not fit into your project, but try to keep that open mind and see how they do fit in. But this is a way to help you to try and understand what that compelling need is, what you really need to communicate to others.
Culture.
All right, how we go on that?
Not good.
Not good. No. Why is that, Crosby?
It's understanding it
Yeah.
more, I guess. I mean, it's easy for me for the process, but trying to put that as is and to be in the structure, people and culture, struggling with a little.
Mm. And it's about trying to, you might not be able to answer every one of those questions, but it's trying to think about what that compelling need is, what's not working well, what are we going to fix, and how do I need to communicate this? How am I going to go out and tell others why we're going to change? What's those reasons? Why do they want to change?
Well, that's that's the idea of the project itself, isn't it? So, if you,
Yep.
like for me, once I've completed the project, I should be able to send that off to my manager and the owner and say, hey, look, you know, this is as is basically, and this is where we need to be.
Yep. These are the problems. This is
And
what's
then if they want to spend the money to do it, then well, when they obviously we're spending money on lean.
Yep.
It'd be crazy if it's a compelling need, as you say, and if it's going to improve efficiencies, you would think that they would look at it.
Yep. But it's also about how you actually explain it to others.
Yes.
The other 6 that are working there with you, why we need to change. What's wrong with our existing system?
So with my project, I'm looking at partially automating the treatment plant.
Yep.
To stop the person from having to travel that 400 metres per charge, and actually free up some time to do other stuff that he needs to do, which is like tagging. Every post that we put through here has to have a tag on the end before it goes to market.
Yep.
And we do that. So they would free up more time to be able to do that sort of stuff. And one of the biggest issues with us was safety. With while he's doing that 400 metres per charge, he's actually stepping over a lot of pipes and hoses and things that are pretty well fixed. Well, they are fixed.
Well, you know, as you've talked there, you've answered the process, you've answered structure, you've answered people, you know, and
I've actually wrote all this stuff down, but
yep.
I haven't wrote anything down for culture yet.
No, good though, you're getting there. Well, what about you, Natalie?
So I wrote down for process. Well, I made sure, obviously, I've said before that the project that I want to do is the filing system, but because all of us use it, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't the only one who thought there was a need. So I obviously talked to everyone and also our manager to make sure that she thought it was a worthwhile exercise, and that it mapped back to our strategy, which is providing really good service to our clients and members. And by cleaning it up, it'll create some efficiencies. So what's not working well today, obviously talking to all the staff, I don't think anyone agrees that we've got a really succinct filing system.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about what tools or technology are not working well today, I had to chuckle because we've got a new phone system. Well, it's not even new anymore. And yeah, daily we have some kind of IT issue, but not always that's something that we can do something about. But in terms of the structure, the system that we have and the S drive and everything, it works really well, having a shared platform, but it's not working well for every staff member. I think everyone knows that it could be better because everyone's got more than sort of 3 or 4 clicks to find a folder.
Yep.
So that's, everyone realises that maybe it should be a bit more succinct. And in terms of culture, do behaviours and beliefs support the as-is process? Well, I think we've all just put up with what we've got. Yep. So I don't think anyone would be upset if I didn't take this on as a project. But because everyone's used to it, it's become the norm that it's, forgotten which folder where this or that is, but there's certainly room for improvement that everyone's got buy-in. It's really hard to, obviously after the project, asking these questions again will be important to the to-be state.
Yep.
But that is in part of that selling process to people. Wouldn't it be nice if we could get, the document within 3 clicks? So what I've done is I've done a bit of spaghetti mapping and a bit of counting clicks to certain files that people use. So to get that buy-in, I'm going to give some evidence of what we're currently doing.
Yep.
And what I'd like to get it down to. So yeah, I've kind of started on the project skeleton on some of the tangible stuff. In terms of is it working well today, we've managed to have everything that we have working really well. It just could work better. And I think I'm proving to people by showing them other ways, or that there could be a bit of efficiency with that filing system.
Yep.
And people believe it's important because they know it maps back to our goals, which is the service orientated, providing a really...
Sorry, Nat, can you get down to 3 clicks?
I doubt it with some things, but some things are phenomenally like 7 or 8 clicks away that they don't need to be. Some things are duplicated. They're in training and in events, or in membership and in training. Look.
Can I just butt in there a second? But think about, and it's under that sort and set, not everything has to be 3 clicks, but the things I use a lot are going to be those 3 clicks.
Absolutely. So I haven't actually got a number of clicks I want to get something down to. I'm not that far into it, and I don't think that's probably the best way to go about it. But identifying that there is a really complex process sometimes to get to some of the documents, and to the point where the method to the madness isn't always the same. So there's no consistency. So I think I've got the buy-in on. Everyone agrees it could be better. I don't think anyone knows how to do it, including myself. But I think that the change resistance will be, unless I've got a really succinct, easy way, I'm going to have to communicate really well on how and make the process as easy as possible to prove that it's going to meet the same thing but be more efficient. I've got a meeting next week with a group of ladies that did this training last year.
Correct. Yep, on the 6th.
So I'm going to pick their brains a bit, see what's worked before, because that evidence and information will help me know what pathway, and will collaborate with the staff here on. These are some options, guys. I want the buy-in and use other people's brains and what would work for them. So I'm not going to clean up the filing system on a way that suits me. I'm not the only person that uses it. It's really important to have that consistency. So I'm very much at the start of it. I've got a very clear idea of where I want to go and what I want to do, but I don't know the how yet, and that's unfolding as I pick other people's brains. But I think I've got enough buy-in here, and there's definitely interest in how I'm going to get there. So that's going to be the next thing.
And that's what these tools are about, trying to make us think a little bit more and try and think about how we actually explain it to others. So good. But I hope you enjoy next week. It is. Yep. The catching up with the girls should be fun. They're all a great bunch. So anyway, look forward to seeing how it went. All right. So the compelling need assessment. Are all members of the project team aligned in terms of the need for change? Have we framed the need for change in such a way to reflect the concerns of customers and key suppliers? Would each team member deliver essentially the same message regarding the need for change if asked by someone outside the team? What do you think about that one? And this is part of that explanation, actually, explaining what you're up to and how you're going to go about it. Who are the key stakeholders affected by this project, and how much importance does each give to the project? And how can we help others increase their sense of need for the change? All right, so that brings us to this, the threat opportunity matrix. Now, this matrix helps determine the driving factors behind the project, which can then be used in communicating the needs. And that's what I'd like you to look at it, to use it as to communicating your project. And then we look at it, the threats, the short-term threat. What are the threats if this project does not happen? If we do not do the project? And then the long-term threat. What are the threats if this project does not happen? Then we have the short-term opportunities. What are the short-term opportunities with the proposed project? And then our long-term opportunities. What are the long-term opportunities with the proposed project? So I'd like you to think about your project. And as we go here, so to build a compelling need, a powerful message for your project. Understand the need for change must exceed its resistance. And this is about how you communicate, how you deliver that message to everyone concerned. So the instructions: discuss and complete the compelling need template. Complete each quadrant of the threat opportunity matrix shown on the next slide, and just check to see if you address both the organisation and the personnel needs of the people that the project will impact. So yeah, you've got a template there to use, or just use a piece of paper. If you haven't got that printed out, that's fine, but I'd like you to think about your project and what are those short-term and long-term threats and the short-term and long-term opportunities if the project doesn't go ahead and if the project does go ahead. Five minutes or so for that one. Back up. How you going there, Natalie?
Yes, good. I think I've done mine, so I was checking your email. Sorry.
You want to
But
read
do you
out?
want me to go through it with you?
That'd be good.
Sure. So in terms of the threats, if we don't do the project, given that mine's cleaning up the data, the filing system in the electronic, short term, the threats are that perhaps other people might pick up the phone to someone else if it takes too long for me to get information, or I have to actually say, can I take your number and email that? You know, if it's clunky and not timely, that, you know, there's other providers of information. There's people might start saying, look, don't bother calling them, they take a bit long, kind of thing. There's risk of people being frustrated and that therefore not thinking of us as the premium information provider if they've got to wait. So the opportunities are that if we do this, we can provide faster provision of information, meaning we could probably get more done in one day. You know, some days I'll go home and say, would you mind, I'll send that to you tomorrow.
Yep.
So more information. We'll be creating advocates. The opportunities are that people will start saying, look, call TCCI, they'll do it there and then straight away. It's really easy. So they were the short term. The long term threats were the risk of us not being the leading provider of business information, and that others come into this space and see that, you know, maybe if we're a bit clunky or slow, that they could do it better. So the long-term threats are that, you know, a Hobart chamber could spring up and offer the same services but better. I don't know. And the long-term opportunities are to create long-term advocates, having people wanting to be members, have that aspirational desire to want to be part of the TCCI, because what we do is timely, efficient and accurate.
Yep, spot on. No? So I hope you can sort of see how that can help you come up with what you need to communicate, you know, how to go out to the team itself. What about you, Crosby? What did you come up with?
Oh, the short-term threats were there's risk of injury by having to step over these pipes all the time, what I keep saying. If we don't do it, it's going to be a little bit of a downer for the people, because we're looking forward to actually implementing, having the plant partially automated, if you like.
Yep.
The long-term threats, it's going to be a loss of income, and it's at the moment the way we've got these cylinders with sight gauges on the side of them, and they're inaccurate. So with this system that I'm planning, it's going to have transducers in the bottom of the tanks, and going back to a readout that we can immediately see when we change something over. If we stop the flood process, for example, as soon as we hit the flood button, we can straight away see what the chemical levels are, so it's more accurate.
Yeah.
So if we don't do it, obviously it's inaccuracy. The records aren't accurate. Opportunities. There's an improvement to the job satisfaction. There's an improvement to the job. There's reduce the safety issues. The long term would be to reduce labour. We'll be able to put more charges through the system, but also it's only a very small, when I say small, probably a $30,000 expense to actually fully automate the plant. So you don't have to go out there at all. We're only looking at doing a like partial.
Yep.
Partially automated. We're still going to have to do our own chemical mix-ups and sampling of our chemicals, etc., through this process. But yeah, down the track, there's a huge opportunity there to actually fully automate the plant.
So like a stage 1, a stage 2 change.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, no, good. No, that's great. You know, like, you know, I don't know if anyone sort of something's popped out that you hadn't thought about before, but, you know, think about it, you know, how it's a tool that can be used to help communicate what that compelling need is, or your burning platform. No, we're not saying you have to use this tool in your project. It's up to you to decide whether you do or not. But, you know, think about it for other things that you're doing within your organisation. You know, it's a way just to brainstorm and come up with a way to go out and communicate to others why we need to change, to try and prevent that resistance and answer those what's in it for me type things. All right, so some considerations. Without documenting the compelling need, the project team may assume the need for change is obvious, fail to frame the need for change in a meaningful way, assume that when others fail to appreciate the need for change, it's their problem. And as we said there before, you know, people are struggling to understand. We need to look in the mirror and really think about how we're actually explaining it, how we're delivering what that compelling need is. And then underestimating the resistance to change, because there will be resistance. We fool ourselves if we think there won't be, because as Crosby said earlier on, a lot of people don't like change. They like to stay in that comfort zone. So it's up to us to try and show why there is a need for change and how we all benefit from it in the long term. Think about your communication strategy. So summary, organisational change management is the process of managing people, structure, processes and culture. When documenting the compelling need, this is done twice in two states, the as is and the to be. Where your project is today and where you want it to be tomorrow. And what are the elements of organisational change management? We have the role management, culture change, structural change, communication strategy and reward strategy. Now we're going to look a little bit more at communication itself. Okay, so communication strategies defines the message to be delivered and the method of delivery. What is the message to be delivered? Who is the target audience? Is it tailored to the audience? Who will deliver the communications? When should the communication be delivered? How will the communication be delivered? How frequently should the communication occur? And how will feedback be attained and used to address resistance? So when you go out to communicate things, do you think of those things?
Not individually, no.
Yeah. It's pretty important that we make sure that we're communicating consistently across the board and we don't miss people out, and we tell the same story day in and day out. And quite often a simple communication plan such as this can do that. What the objective, the key message, the audience, the timing, the media and the owner who's going to go and deliver it itself. It's about exactly the same project, but making sure we get the right people to say the right thing at the right time. Pretty simple. Map it out before you go and do it. Make sure we don't miss anything.
Is there much background noise if I've got the mic on?
Well, I can hear a little bit now and then. It's not too bad though, Crosby. How about you, Natalie? You okay with it?
Yes, it's fine. It's not bothering me.
No. All right, so communication for successful change. Be honest and simple. Really important. Tell the same, each group exactly the same. Don't start to lie because you're going to forget what you actually told them. Communicate early and communicate often. What's one of the problems that can happen if we go out and communicate too early and we communicate often? What's some of the traps we can fall into? What about Natalie?
If we communicate too early, we might not have all of the information. We might not come across as trustworthy and organised, and we're just mucking up the message.
Yep.
So, that would be my first thoughts.
Yep. And also with that communicate too often, and I'm not saying, we still have to do it, but if we can go out and we can just talk exactly the same thing every time we get together, people just shut down and they lose interest in what you're up to. So it is about, changing it up, keeping people up to date with where you're at, but not just repeating the same stuff over and over again. So really think about it. We need to communicate early. We need to go out there and explain to people before we go off and do something, what we're up to and why we're going to change in that. But really think carefully about how you go about it. Communicate with all of your change targets. Be consistent from one audience to the next, but tailor your message to be relevant. Now think about the group that you're actually talking to and the level that you need to talk to. Be open to concerns and questions from all levels and areas of the business affected and invite dialogue. There will be some tough questions, there's no question about that. But that's a little bit where we went back into that matrix earlier on and really started to think about what we need to tell people and how we're going to go out and do it. We build communications to address the concerned voice, a clear demonstration of the leadership commitment to the change and the success of the business, and a clear description of the compelling need to change. Why we're doing it, what's in it for them. So, some of those communication barriers. There are many reasons why interpersonal communication may fail. In many communications, the message, what is said, may not be received exactly the way the sender intended it. It is therefore important that the communicator seek feedback to check that the message is clearly understood. The three skills of actively listening, reflection, and clarification may help, but the skilled communicator also needs to be aware of the barriers to effective communication and how to avoid or overcome them. So, actively listen. Active listening is a skill that can be acquired and developed with practice. However, active listening can be difficult to master and will therefore take time and patience. Active listening means, as its name suggests, actively listening. That is, fully concentrating on what is being said rather than just passively hearing the message of the speaker. So any of you think that you're a good active listener?
Certainly.
Well, that's a bit of a bad way to ask it.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So where do you think you sit as an active listener?
I think I'm 50-50.
50-50? Yep.
I know how to active listen. I need to catch myself. It's one of those habit things.
Yes.
So I actually did, when this slide came on, stop looking at my emails, shut it down, and started actively listening to you, because otherwise, yeah, I wasn't really taking the whole lot in.
No. Yep.
Absolutely.
No, and we seem to do that quite a lot, don't we? What about you, Crosby?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I've known about active listening for many years, and I'm probably like Natalie too. I probably don't do it as much as what I should.
We all fall into that category once again. I had an example the other day where I had to go and pick my son up, and I didn't actively listen, and I went to the wrong place to go and pick him up. I wasn't listening to what my wife actually told me.
The owner of these two big golf courses up here, he says that he has 2 ears for listening and 1 mouth for speaking.
All right.
You might know Mr. Richard Sattler.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he says.
All right, good. Oh, what I'd like you to do is have a read of that slide, and then tell me if there's anything there that jumps out or to you.
Eye contact is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got eye contact here and you're talking to someone, they're listening, and you're listening.
Yep.
I think the body language is really important too. The body language and eye contact will tell you far more than the words or anything else.
Yep. No, exactly. How do you find this, Natalie, with your online teaching?
That's why I wandered before. I do wander a bit with the online. I don't do a lot of online. I much prefer the classroom. I've only ever done a couple of Zoom sessions. I've got another one coming up, but yeah, our learners don't prefer it. We have it on the calendar as an option.
Yep.
The odd person will ask because they can't come to the session, we record it, or we put the laptop in the room. But very rarely will we do like you're doing with a whole 100% session online.
Yeah, well, I'll be very open and honest. This is new to us, and personally, I don't really like it. I much prefer the face-to-face. I'm very much, I like to read the room and things like that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. But so we have still delivering that training. We're doing it COVID safe, and like I said, people are choosing it over Zoom or Teams. Yep. We've got all 3 options on our training calendar, and very rarely I've got one business wanting to do it difficult customers, but it's only because of logistics that they'll do it with Zoom. I'm doing a Hobart session and then one Zoom session for the people that can't get to a location altogether. But yeah, it's not ideal.
No.
And I feel for you because, yeah. And I jump around. See, I'd be with a camera on me. I'd go in and out of the camera. In the session, I'm up, I'm down, I'm walking, I'm asking a question, I'm backing, I'm on the whiteboard, I'm everywhere. I say, oh, I'm a bit crazy. You'll just have to follow me today. I'm everywhere.
Oh, well, I'm like that.
Yeah.
I'm very, I suppose, well, my friends call me Godfrey. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah,
that.
the Godfrey's man. I'm
Yep.
a carpenter. Yeah, I know
Arms
what you
like
mean.
this.
Yep.
I'm Godfrey, because I talk with my arms, and I've really struggled here behind the computer, trying to keep still, like you say, because I want to be up and about and that sort of thing as well. So I have struggled, and I've sort of watched a few of the video recordings to try and, I might sit on my hands, I might do this, I might do that, to try and keep it under control. But I've failed a bit, I must admit, and I notice how much I move around, but that's me. I've started doing a few face-to-face sessions, started back up about 3 weeks ago, and I couldn't believe how excited I was. I was just jumping all over, skipping and jumping, in the class. It was fantastic. I just had missed it so much. But yeah, it's certainly different, but it is the way of the times, I think. All right. Reflecting. How good you think your listening skills are. The only person who can tell you if you've understood correctly or not is the speaker. Therefore, as an extension of good listening skills, you need to develop the ability to reflect words and feelings and to clarify that you have understood them correctly. It is important that you and the speaker agree that what you understand is a true representation of what is meant to be said. So is there any good reflectors out here?
If I'm asked by my boss to do something or get something done, I generally always repeat it back to make sure that I know exactly what he's after.
Yep. So,
I've probably got things wrong more than right and have learnt the hard way in that. But as the person delivering the message, we put all the onus on the person listening to understand it.
yep.
And I don't always understand. I've learnt to take a pen and paper when my boss talks to me. She's the kind of person that doesn't like, some people don't like being interrupted. And I only like to take information in small chunks and then ask questions about it, which really annoys those people that don't like being interrupted. So I've learnt to sort of take notes. I've also, a few times I've clarified it back. My boss has said, tell me what you're going to do, and I've clarified it back. But when I've gone away, my version of what I'm going to do is completely different than her version of the same words.
Yes.
So yeah, I've found myself in a boat of learning what to check and how to check understanding or clarity a little bit differently or a little bit more involved, because of the fact that I tend to often go off and get it wrong. Like I said, even when I've said the same words, whatever. So it's been a really full-on thing, that checking, clarifying. So if I do this, can I show you when I've started to make sure we're on the right way? I actually add a few layers there because I don't know if I'm thick or whatever.
Exactly. We all absorb information differently, and how we actually, and that's why, mirroring and paraphrasing and that, some people get really offended by, I just shut up, but this is how people actually absorb information. Now, I always, when, talk to people, I try to have a dot point at the end, just those key things that we try to get across. And then, like you say, people, the way they actually confirm that they understood, can be done in many different ways. Now, if you think about that mirroring is a simple form of reflecting and involves repeating almost exactly what the speaker says. Mirroring should be short and simple. It's usually enough just to repeat key words of the last few words spoken. This shows you are trying to understand the speaker's terms of reference and acts as a prompt for him or her to continue. Be aware not to over-mirror, as this can become irritating and therefore a distraction from their message. Paraphrasing involves using other words to reflect what the speaker has said. Paraphrasing shows not only that you are listening, but that you are attempting to understand what the speaker is saying. It is often the case that people hear what they expect to hear. We'll be coming into that, Natalie, due to assumptions, stereotyping and prejudice. When paraphrasing, it is of the utmost importance that you do not introduce your own ideas or question the speaker's thoughts, feelings or actions. Your response should be non-directive and non-judgmental. So clarifying and clarification. In communication, clarification involves offering back to the speaker the essential meaning, as understood by the listener, of what they have just said, thereby checking that the listener's understanding is correct and resolves any areas of confusion or misunderstanding. Clarification is important in many situations, especially when what is being communicated is difficult in some way. Communication can be difficult for many reasons. Perhaps sensitive emotions are being discussed, or you are listening to some complex information or following instructions. So guidelines for clarifying. Admit if you are unsure about what the speaker means. Ask for repetition. State what the speaker has said as you understand it, and check whether it's what they really said. Ask for specific examples. Use open, non-directive questions if appropriate. Ask if you've got it right and be prepared to be corrected. The key thing is ask. Don't be frightened to ask questions. So, barriers. I'm going to read these out, and then I'd like you to tell me if you've ever had any of these as a barrier in your communication. So the use of jargon, overcomplicated, unfamiliar and or technical terms. Emotional barriers and taboo. Some people may find it difficult to express their emotions, and some topics may be completely off limits. Lack of attention, interest, distraction or irrelevance to the receiver. Difference in perception and viewpoint. Physical disabilities such as hearing problems or speech difficulties. Physical barriers to non-verbal communication, not being able to see the non-verbal cues, gestures, postures and general body language can make communication less effective. Language barriers, or differences and difficulties in understanding unfamiliar accents. Expectations and prejudice, which may lead to false assumptions or stereotyping. People often hear what they expect to hear rather than what is actually said and jump to incorrect conclusions. And then cultural difference. The norms of social interaction vary greatly in different cultures, as do the way in which emotions are expressed. For example, the concept of personal space varies between cultures and between different social settings. So have you ever experienced any of these barriers in your working life?
Differences in perception and viewpoint, I reckon.
Yep. You raised this one in week one, I think, Crosby. Jargon. How much jargon was in the lean to start?
The acronyms.
Acronym. Yep.
I think you might have brought up another one today.
Yeah, more than somewhere along the line there. What about you, Natalie?
Yeah, I go through this. I whiteboard this when I do the unit communication. But yeah, I've obviously come up across. I've worked in RTOs as yourself. In fact, RTO always meant registered training organisation until recently, when it means regional tourism operator as well now. So yeah, I get that kind of stuff all the time. You know, you get the physical barriers. We're right outside Beaumont Tiles. Even down in the training room, if the window's open and someone's picking up their tiles, I've got to go and shut the windows or they can't hear what I'm saying. Yeah, I go through a lot of this stuff, so I get it fairly well.
Yeah, good. All right, well, I've got little couple of videos here that I'm going to get going. And what I'd like you to do is we're going to watch the first one and then you're going to tell me what you see. Just let me get it up first. Oh. I'll see that.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't share the sound, did I? 1 second.
A minute?
Not really, but what do you got?
We've got a problem with the new production run. It looks like there's a defect in the packaging. I'm not sure if we can ship the product. I have already shut down.
Hi, honey, what's up? No, I don't want to pick up groceries. It's the last thing I want to do. No, forget it. Just order some pizza. Just, I don't know, get something to go. No, not from Moe's Pizza. They don't know how to listen. They always screw up the order. Okay. No, I don't have time right now. The boss is hassling me about production numbers, and I've got somebody here, and I don't know what they're doing. Oh, I don't know when I'll be home. Save some pizza for me then.
Well,
What's the problem again?
I had to shut down the production line. And
Why the hell would you do that? Get the line started up again. We've got to keep our production numbers up. Boss is going to be pissed if he hears the lines. Production line.
Well, I just think.
Go!
Okay.
All right, so that was a bit of interactive listening. What did you see?
An angry supervisor.
Angry supervisor.
Didn't give a shit. Didn't listen.
No, he didn't, did he?
He was listening to his wife, though.
As we all do, yes. Yeah.
Whatever you reckon.
Yeah. No, but has anyone ever had a supervisor like that? Manager?
Yep.
They'll probably beat a supervisor like that at times, so
Ah,
they're under
right.
the pump and
Yep,
yeah, I can relate to that.
yep. Try to think about the
In
other
the
person.
past.
Yep, good. You said the right thing. I actually used to have a boss many years ago that was exactly like that, but he wouldn't even turn around. I used to just talk to his back. He wouldn't turn around. He'd just be on his computer, like that, like exactly the same. He'd walk out, I don't even know why bother going to see him about anything, because he never gave you the time of day. It was very disheartening. And in the end, I stopped going there to tell him stuff because I felt like it was a waste of time.
Exactly.
All right, now I'm going to look at another little video. Just give me a second. I want that one open. Not even let me open that one for some reason. Well, Not sure what's going on there, but it won't let me open that slide. Saying it's not a link anymore. Anyway, I might get you to have a look at that one in your own time when you get a chance, but it's a lot better example of how to actually deal with people. So give your slides a go at that and see if you can get that one to work, but might have a go at that in your own time. So we might keep moving on. We haven't got much left to go. Okay, right, so we've basically just got the takeaways to go through. So a couple of questions. So what is actively listening?
It's being attentive. It's actually listening to what people are saying.
Exactly that. It's just that, isn't it? Actively listening, fully concentrating on what is being said. What are non-verbal signs of attentive or active listening?
Posture.
Posture, yep.
Yep.
So got smile, eye contact.
Head down.
Yep.
Don't care.
Yep, all those things. What are 3 skills to improve communication?
Repeating back what the person's saying.
Yep.
So reflecting. My phone keeps ringing.
So that's listening, reflection and clarification. What are the 2 techniques used when reflecting?
Questioning and
Ask.
paraphrasing.
Yeah, paraphrasing, and what was the other one?
Mirroring.
Mirroring, that's correct. What's the key to clarification?
Understanding.
Yeah, understanding, but what do we do?
You're repeating back.
Yeah, so what do we do? We ask, that's it. Ask the questions. And name 2 barriers of communication.
Noise.
Noise,
And,
yep.
Language.
Language,
Acronyms.
Yep, acronyms, jargon, culture, emotional barriers, all those things. All right, so what I'm going to get you to do is call out that C3.2, unless anyone's got any queries or questions, what we've just gone through. If you get C3.2 up, get that one knocked off.
I lost it.
I think I've done it.
You've done it.
Just done it along the way.
That's fine, not a problem. Yeah, I was wondering when someone might come along to that one. Yeah. All right. Well, that's us for today. So what I might do is, has anyone got any queries or questions?
No.
So we might just have a look at where we're at as far as assessments go.
I keep losing my plot on. I'm about to send that C3.1 and I've got C3.2, but I know that I'm sitting on the. I've got in front of me that one we went to do this week, the ergonomic P2.2.
Yep, this one. Can you see that on the screen, everyone?
Yep, I can.
Yep. Yeah, so you can see your, Natalie, you see 1.3.
I haven't got that. So C1.3 and P1.1. Okay.
C2.3.
You've done that. That's
yep.
Oh, no, maybe I
All right.
haven't.
P2.2, P2.4.
2.4, that's to hand in. Cool. All right.
And then the two for today, C3.1 and C3.2. Crosby, you're a star student. You've got them all in. Well done.
Oh, I thought there might have been a gap there, 2.3.
No, that's the Power Project stuff, remember? So that was the things that you're going to hand in at that last lesson, the P2.3 and the P2.5. P2.5 was our score sheet, and P2.3 was, you know, the list of things that I actually used in my project, and then where your sponsor signs off on the document itself.
Yeah, okay.
So what I'd like, and if those of you that are not here today, that I'm going to send you the copy of today's recording, we can try and get on top of these outstanding homework and so forth. The good thing is we don't have any homework for this week, so there's just those class ones. If you can get those through to me, but it'll give you the opportunity to go back and try and get on top of these. It's good not to let them build up, because otherwise can become quite daunting, especially these P1.1s, P2.4 and that, you know, your 5S audits, because we have an audit once a month. We're doing an audit and we need to stay on top of those. If it in the front of your folders that you would have received, there would have been in the front of that, there was a list of all the assignments that had to be done and how they're mapped out. You know, don't be frightened to use that as a tick off, you know, that I've sent that one, I've sent that one, I've sent that one. You know, it's a way to hold me accountable that, yes, you've got it, it's in your system somewhere, or a reminder to you that, oh, geez, I need to get that one off. So anyway, if we can try and stay on top of those, it'd be really appreciated. And apart from that, I don't have anything else to bring up today. So has anyone got any queries or questions about what we've gone through?
No, I don't think so.
No, all good. And I'll get the rest of that stuff in.
Okay, great. Now, it's probably not as informative as what you do as far as culture and so forth, Natalie, but we're just trying to give a bit of a general overview about, you know, things, you know, how to go about, you know, what we want you to do as far as your project, how you communicate that to everyone else, and make sure we try and minimise that resistance to that change. Anyway, I'd like to say thank you very much and have a great week. And I'll catch you all in 2 weeks' time.
Cool.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you
See you
enjoy next week, Natalie.
Yes, I
Good
will.
bunch.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, they're a really good bunch. So
Yeah, cool. A couple of them are members with us anyway, so it's good to strengthen that relationship and pick their brains and all of that. So double whammy for me.
yeah, no, it's good. Now, Anna, you know, from the bank, State Growth, which one?
Oh,
it is?
yes.
Yep.
She's at the bank, I think.
Yep, she worked as with us there for a little while, but got too much work on and had to drop back. So she was taking office versions of the Cert 4. So it'd be a great person
She'll
to
be my
chat
best
to.
friend then. Yeah.
Yes, my word.
Cool.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right. Thanks, David.
No, thank you. All right. See you later.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you.
See you, Cross.